You know the stage song. Whatever, man. You know the stage song. Whatever, man.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for everybody that's listening in, watching in, or are here in person at an Overit hybrid event. This is our AI for Marketers series. This is our third part in the series, and today we're talking a bit about AI's role in digital marketing and, very importantly, customer experience. So today I was actually supposed to be on the panel, but unfortunately Michelle is ill, so I'll be moderating today's panel. And we have some great folks on the panel today. We have Chris Powers, our Director of Technology. We have Chris Liu, Director of Data and Analytics at E15 Group, and Aaron Swinton, the co-founder and CEO of MAVRK Studio. So if you guys wouldn't mind just giving a little bit of information about your company, your background, and we're very happy to have you here as well. But yeah, if we could start, Aaron, if you wouldn't mind kicking us off a little bit, telling us a little bit about yourself.
Of course, thanks for having me. So yeah, Aaron Swinton, co-founder and CEO of MAVRK Studio. We'd like to describe ourselves as a creative agency that aims to connect commerce and culture. And we do that through design, we do it through social media advertising, then content creation, right? So pretty new, been around for 3 years. But small team and focused on the hospitality and CPG industries. Yeah,
that's awesome. Thank you, Chris Liu.
Hi everyone, Chris Liu, Director of Strategy and Analytics with E15 Group. So tell a little bit more about who we are. We are Compass Group's internal consulting arm, and Compass Group is one of the largest food service and hospitality groups in the world. And so our group, our E15, is dedicated to really injecting data and analytics and insight into all the things that we do across all of hospitality. We've amassed one of the largest hospitality data sets in all the world over the past few years. We have a tremendous amount of insight into food service, but also from conferencing and other aspects of that business as well. So excited to talk to you all.
And Chris Powers.
Chris Powers, Director of Technology here at Overit. My role generally is to understand either current technologies and how they relate to our clients, our customers, and marketing in general, keeping a scope on what's coming out and where we should be 5 years from now, and the future of what marketing technology turns into.
So as this is an AI panel, AI is goal-directed adapted behavior, essentially systems that can learn and adapt themselves. So what is digital marketing? What people are calling digital marketing lots of different things as we're moving through this sphere of rapid technology growth. But, we are talking about things such as SEO, social media, content marketing, email marketing, online paid advertising, voice search, video marketing, obviously insights and analytics, and other various touch points that'll affect the customer's experience, such as wearables, technology, and those types of things as we move forward. So with that said, the evolving customer experience is something that I think we're all talking about internally as well, the experience of working at a company as well as the customer experience in general. And customer experience, what is kind of titled as the overall perception and feelings a customer has about a brand, feelings based on all the interactions and all the touch points throughout the complete user journey. By leveraging AI, digital marketers can deliver highly targeted, personalized, data-driven experiences that enhance customer satisfaction, obviously loyalty. It improves engagement and conversions, giving a very competitive edge in today's customer-centric landscape. Some examples of customer experience and digital marketing is personalization at scale. AI is analyzing vast amounts of customer data, browsing history, purchases, preferences, to deliver highly personalized experience. And we're all talking about personalization. As we all know, this is something we are all working towards. Personalized product and services, recommendations, targeted marketing campaigns, and very, very tailored content that rings with people and engages with them in the proper way. Part of this is predictive analytics. All models predict future customer behavior and the needs based on mostly from historical data, but from also predictive analysis using that historical data. Optimizing marketing efforts by identifying high value customer segments. Conversational AI, chatbots, virtual assistants powered by natural language processing, provide 24/7 customer support nowadays. Interactions are becoming more humanized. Handling routine queries, freeing human agents for more complex issues. Also looking at audience segmentation, all segments and customers based on demo, behaviors, and preferences for precise targeting. This enables folks to get into micro-targeting and personalization. Automated campaigns ensures timely, personalized, relevant messaging to consumers at different stages of the buyer's journey. So as we move forward, and the folks on the panel, we're working very diligently on having that information so that we are identifying those different stages to increase efficiency and reduce manual effort for marketers. So one thing, not to be cliche to quote Steve Jobs, but it's not faith in technology. It's faith in people. So it does all go back to the human experience. And that is something how we're interacting between technology, AI, and people and that experience. So since we know that brand and creativity are kind of the foundation of everything, how does AI affect and enhance our work in digital marketing? So I think I'll start with you.
Sure. Yeah, it's an interesting question, right? Because all this stuff is so new and we are also pretty new, right? So like we're learning as we're doing some of this stuff, but for us, it's really been about understanding how to get the client to where they have to go, right? And creative testing is really important for us, right? So, like I said before, we're doing social media management, we're doing paid ads on social, right? So to the extent that we can create more creative faster, right? We can test more creative over time. This allows us to get better results for our clients because we have more data to pull from, right? And I have a team of 6. We're pretty small, but even with that team, we're able to pump out a lot of high quality work. And, like Steve Jobs said, it's not the AI itself, but it's the people using the AI to almost be like a companion to who they are and what they do, and ultimately just create efficiencies throughout the process. So I think generally it's just like laying a foundation that's a lot easier to get to than it used to be before, right? For us, at least.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Chris, Lou, you also work very deeply in this type of environment. Can you tell us a little bit about how you see this?
I'm actually going to build off of what Aaron just mentioned. So it's really what we're seeing is how do we leverage AI to create efficiencies and not replace what we do, but augment what we do, right? How do we create faster, right? That's how do we get, one of the things that we're working on right now is how do we streamline the menu ideation process, right? Because right now what that looks like is, our operators, our marketing teams are sifting through our menu database, they're sifting through trend reports, and then at the end of the day, someone has to collate all that information, put it together. What we're experimenting with and piloting out through one of our programs, Smorgasbord, is how do we use AI to do a lot of that upfront research for us. So let's say if we were to queue up an example, we want to open a new concept in Texas and want it to be focused on Thai cuisine. It can pull into our database. Here's all of our menus. Here's some local ingredient trends in Texas that are trending, and then it'll automatically generate a concept with stock images through DALL-E, whatever it is. And then then our marketers and our culinary teams can then take that information and do what they do best, and use that creative function. That's what they're.
You're arming them
exactly
with a lot more useful information, and that's kind of how we're seeing it as well. Arming, you're armed with the information, and then you can take that and apply it to your brand, your efforts in a much more personalized experience that fits fits you. So it's not just completely taking over, but the asset of being able to have that type of information is invaluable, I'm sure.
It's how do we free up our best resources to do what they're good at?
Yep. Thank you.
Sorry, just one more thing on that. Something interesting for us as well is like, we have a new client or a new concept, whatever it is. That process of sitting down together and ideating, that's a pretty involved process. And we are bringing AI to be a part of that conversation, right? Like quite literally asking questions to the AI, asking it to generate sort of like a foundational understanding of this brand, right? And we're not just using that, but that process and that sort of like practice alone has cut down our time and ideation, I'd say 20%, at the least, right? So it's almost like an intern being added to the group. But you don't have to really pay them anything besides $20 bucks.
And those efficiencies create more value for
for everybody.
What we're doing, for the client, for everybody, right? And it's also giving us more in-depth information as well.
Right, and I think that's like what we use it here as an agency. One is agencies are built on time-based charges. We're billing people for our time, and what we're able to do here is I'm able to take that same amount of time we could have, that we would have billed them for with information that maybe is not as in depth, not as articulate, and we're able to take all of the information from all of our meetings, put them into an assistant or some sort of GPT, and then we're able to pull out mind maps, we're able to pull out workflows, we're able to pull out all of this information that makes our job, that the whole part of compiling all of this information and sifting through it, what we used to do before by just going through it, we miss a lot of things. That mind map helps me out tremendously. All of our things, it's going to shoot out me every discussion, how they're all linked together, and I'm able to kind of visualize that and see that. Saves me hours and hours. Not only that, but the ideation that comes from that creative, the ideas that we come up with based on that information that we may have missed or we may have skipped over due to time frames or anything else, that's there now. And so the quality of the product, of the work that we do as humans, is better because of that. That's how we see it.
Looking at the positive. Aaron, you kind of mentioned also that like testing, you were starting to can you tell us, just give us a small example of how you're testing? Yeah,
and this is something that's really interesting. So once again, we do paid advertising on social media, right? So all those ads that you see when you're scrolling and not trying to see ads is what we do and what we create, right? So, these days, Facebook has gotten so good at targeting on its native platform that we don't have to target as much as we used to or do as much work to understand our target because Facebook's going to figure it out, right? So the question becomes, how do we stand out amongst our competitors? And our idea, our conclusion is creative is that, right? So how do we create as much creative as we possibly can? That's quality. And how do we test that amongst all the other creative that we have out there, right? So AI allows us to create more things faster, right? To test it and then ultimately give Facebook what it needs to make decisions on our behalf, right? Because they have Advantage Plus, which is their AI algorithm that works pretty well, right? So yeah, there's that. There's landing pages, right? So we need to create a landing page for ads to redirect to. That takes copy. That takes image generation. That takes understanding where people are spending time on that landing page, right? So like if we can understand that faster and also create that content faster, we're just, once again, efficiency. We're just way more efficient, and we're able to intake more data to make better decisions for our clients. Yeah.
Awesome. So what do you find are the most promising applications of AI in digital marketing and customer experience? I'll start with you, Chris.
So currently we use AI in customer experience a lot. And what we try to do is, it goes back to both analytics, but we're using that for more personalization. So an example, say like a pest control vertical, we know what their services are. We know the phone calls they made. We know the dates that they've seen them, the technicians that they're going, the technicians that are going out to them. All of that information depending on the copy that gets generated on the fly for that person, whether it be an appointment reminder or review solicitation or a service email that's personalized to them about all of their information, about, you know, when they called, when they had problems, seeing that information, you know, before it happens now, because we're able to spot these trends for particular clients. We're able to take all of that information and basically use it so that these emails and texting is very micro targeted to this human. It's like, I wrote this email specifically to this person. And it does give that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling to that, on top of, you know, some of the AI. Once you have a lot of that information, the personalizations and the humanization of some of that information, the more data you have, the better that is. I mean, I have seen these responses that are going back and forth to people be more human than I've ever seen any call agent ever do. You know, we've got texts going out for particular, let's say, this guy his name was Terrence. And we didn't tell AI to do it, just who he was, what the service was, who the client was, all their information, where they were going, cities they lived in, all that stuff. We give it all to the prompt before it generates, you know, and sends it out to them, you know, and it's like emojis. Hey, I'm Terrence, the termite terminator. I'm going to be here next week. And, you know, I know last time you had a little bit of an issue and we're going to check on that, you know, and so it's feeding this information, and it's able to come back with this kind of real humanized, personalized experience per every communication. And obviously there's not a CSR that has to spend their time doing those kind of mundane, repetitive type tasks. They're able to actually answer the phone and worry about, you know, either bringing in business or handling the bigger problems.
Yeah, and even on the larger marketing sphere, we're going to start to see personalization be more and more of a piece of this. So, and Chris Liu, I know that you know, obviously the customer experience is something that you're probably focused on. Yeah. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so we're definitely to better understand guest sentiment. So, you know, voice of the customer is very important to us. Guest feedback, something we have, you know, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of open-ended feedback from our customers, you know, and what do we do with all of that? So, you know, we're certainly using AI to language models to parse through that information, categorize it, to understand, you know, was this an issue with quality? Is it, if a customer is upset, is it because the food was too slow? Like, how do we get all of that in a quick way, in a clean way? But also, how do we then use AI to, you know, not just do all that, but also summarize at the executive level? So if you have 2 minutes to understand what are the key issues in my cafeteria, like we're using AI to create a summary of, you know, kind of like if you go to Amazon right now, if you go to the review page, you'll see you don't have to read through all the reviews now because they have a three sentence blurb on that summarizes all that. So that's what we're working on and piloting in our locations is, one, how do we categorize and understand guest sentiment and make actionable change out of that, but also present it in a way that's very easily digested.
Yeah, I think, you know, going back to, you were just saying, like, you're getting so deep into the details and being able to get factual information on, like, you know, customer sentiment, right? And that type of collection of information to get to somebody who wants an answer of, like, what's actionable change that we can make that's well informed. We've never seen anything at this level that we've been able to do this type of thing before. Another big positive. Aaron, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, sure.
Like, kind of
so I'm not as smart as these guys, so let's just put that out there first. So, but my job is a little bit different, right? Like, I'm building an agency, a company, right? So where my mind is at these days is understanding, hey, how can I construct a team that leverages AI that may look a little bit different than agencies have looked in the past, right? I mean, we're able to do things a lot more streamlined. We're able to sort of augment our capabilities like you were mentioning earlier. So what does this look like for us in the future? Like, how do we create something that can service our clients that may be a little bit leaner than the other agencies in the past, right? I don't know what that answer is yet. I think we're all trying to figure that part out. And then even for our clients, right? Like, how will that affect them? You know, in maybe it's development, maybe it's, you know, the photographers that they had on staff, like whatever that means, I think it's going to change. So we're just trying to keep in front of it as much as we can and sort of be fast followers in understanding, hey, what's happening? Let's understand it and then let's apply it. But I think team construction is something that's going to be really interesting, right? And they even have AI focused jobs coming out where people just prompt, right?
Yeah,
and that's
Prompt engineering.
a skill, and these guys are getting paid a lot of money, right? Or guys and girls are getting paid a lot of money, right? I think I saw 200 to 300K for these positions because they generate a lot of revenue, they create efficiencies. So yeah, I'm excited to see where that plays out, and I think the agencies, companies, whoever it is, the folks that understand those implications are going to win in the long run. I heard a quote of somebody saying this is going to be the first time in human history where someone can create $1 billion company with 5 people, and I think we're getting pretty close to that, right?
Yep.
So that's exciting, right? And to the extent that we can understand that and get ahead of it, we'll be better for it.
Yeah, and I think and I've heard you use this terminology twice now of fast followers.
Yep.
And I think that is a really smart way of looking at things at this point. Because I think, all of us being of entrepreneurial spirit, we're leaders, we look at ourselves as leadership. But I think in this world, that fast following concept, because, just figuring out how to set up processes of implementing AI, is good. So I think that's helpful information. And I think that's a cool way of looking at it. And starting with you again, Aaron, how can AI help create more seamless and personalized omni-channel experiences, because you're kind of looking at this from, advertising as well as customer experience?
Yeah, so from our lens, it's really just targeting. How do we get in front of the people in the places that they are at and are likely to convert? To be honest, I don't know where this plays out for us yet, right? To be honest, I'll say it once again, these platforms and these companies are getting so good at AI that you almost we entrust some of this stuff to them, right? So I'm relying on Facebook to target and get in front of the right people, right? On Facebook and Instagram. We can use SEO AI with SEO to sort of like auto-generate copy that's most likely to get in front of our customers, right? And the same with some of these other platforms, right? So I think for us, we are leveraging things that already exist, but we can do that once again more efficiently and cost effectively. But yeah, so in short, I don't know how this plays out for us, but we're leveraging what already is out there.
Yeah, we're seeing how we're seamless and personalized experiences across all the different channels of marketing and engagement and interaction is something that I think all of us are going to be kind of looking at and following. Chris Lou, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we do is certainly a lot of consumer analytics and trying to understand, what do generational preferences look like. And I think we're seeing, the younger generations, Gen Z in particular, driving this demand for convenience, for frictionless experiences, and really, the expectations have risen, right? And so I think certainly while we're not trying to, reinvent the wheel or anything, but it has pushed us to start to be more innovative in how we create experiences for that crowd, right? How do we tailor our cuisines around what they want to eat, and how do we do that in a way that's quick and that we can quickly action on it, right? Because if you're waiting for the next trend report that's going to come 6 months from now, the trend's already changed.
Right. We're looking at that, not necessarily from cuisine, but from, the different types of clients that our customers are talking to or are serving. And you're looking at the different generations communicate in a much more different manner, and creating those omni-channel, different types of media strategies per generation or per demographic. That personalization would be, the lift would be 10 times what we're able to do now of looking at that omni-channel type of personalized approach.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, I
Chris?
think the point of the whole that the omni-channel experience is communicating, knowing where and when to communicate based on how they've come into the platform, based on their demographics, based on not only just the copy. I mean, I was talking about the text with Terrence the Termite Terminator. That doesn't go as well over to the 65 plus group as it does to the 25 plus year old group. But some of our clients do not necessarily sell certain services. Like, again, we see 25-year-olds that's just in the seamless experience, as you're saying. They're very, what can I get a subscription to that? Can I sign up for a monthly service where I don't ever have to talk to anybody ever or pick up the phone or do anything? And being able to market to those individuals based on that demographic, as Dan was saying, but only not just that, but what channels they come in on, what are they most interactive with? There's people certainly who are going to be on Insta, people who are on TikTok way before they're the age demographic between that and Facebook now, is quite different. And so having all that information and us not having to sit there and go, well, if it's this, then do this. If it's this, then do this. Now we're able to kind of just say, okay, here's the complete experience we want you to give them. And here's the parameters we want you to take in, and then let it say, okay, this is the best way to handle this individual. And as long as you're testing and everything's right, it really delivers, even right now, I mean, we're at, 99% of the time it's, the feedback and the choices it's making are pretty solid based on on the numbers.
So talking a little bit, and I think this is great for Chris Lou because you work so much in there, but how can sentiment analysis powered by AI help brands better understand and respond to customer feedback?
Yeah, so I think it's helping us to understand, how do we tell the story of our products, right? Of what we serve in our cafeterias. We do a tremendous amount of work with D&I, local vendors, and something that's really resonating well with the younger crowd. We do a lot of work on sustainability, and so how do we understand what are they looking for when they walk into one of our spaces, and what's driving their purchasing decisions, and how do we use that information to tell the story of all the things that we are doing that we think are really benefiting our communities, and that resonate well with those guests.
Yeah, it's amazing. Aaron?
Yeah, so I'm gonna flip. Can I flip this on you a little bit?
Absolutely not.
I would say flip, but so just going a little bit before the feedback part, right? Social listening is something that we do, and Asia, the head of social commerce, does, not me. But you're able to understand by looking at sort of like sentiment analysis before the feedback portion. What are people looking at? What are they talking about? What are they saying about my brand? Like all these things can now be aggregated in an efficient way. Once again, I'm going to say that word 30 times a day, but we can see that beforehand, and then we can create content or marketing material to address those things. And without those people knowing, we knew what they were thinking about before we showed it to them. Yeah. Right. So I think that's a really interesting thing. And I don't think it's really been, I don't think it's mature yet. It's social listening, but I think that's a place where, and I think we'll get into it later, like predictive things, right?
Yes.
How can we use AI to predict what people are going to do or what they want before they actually say it.
Right. And what's going to work.
Exactly.
In response to, just using a review as an example, when you're looking at to be able to predict the best possible outcome for the best customer or client experience. Let's say they are not happy with something and they don't give you a great review.
Yeah.
How is that interaction really, leveraging and serving your client, your customer, even though they may have been unhappy with something that had happened, but how do you turn that around in the best possible way? And that's kind of, we're looking at that as well as how we're using that type of information. Obviously listening socially, but also those direct corresponding communications, personalizing those to be as highly effective as possible.
Yeah, and even just one more thing, just if you're starting a company today, and you can get this data in and understand sort of pain points of customers and people, you can launch brands or cuisines or whatever it may be for that person, and you can reduce a lot of risk that way, which I think is an opportunity as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and we currently, with our we just rolled out a new call analysis product, right? So we're taking in, some of our clients, every call that's coming into their call center, and what we've been using the sentiment analysis for is obviously for, they have, you'll have a discussion where a CSR will have either a hard time with somebody, or maybe they didn't, the person wasn't as satisfied as they possibly could be. But most sales managers, they're not going to see that information down the line. You know what I mean? That stuff, when it's not something that's blown up, you're going to miss a lot of little things. And what we're able to do here is with using that as far as in analytics, we're able to provide these kind of dashboards that are saying, all right, this CSR has, a negative rating this many amount of times, it's taken this longer for this, and this is created, and it even comes back with like, they're frustrated, they're angry. So we're getting keywords, based on what it is. It's not just negative, positive. It is what is the negative part of it, or what was the positive part of it. And so the second comment to the, you start out at the top level with positive, negative, and then you go down to negative. They're very frustrated because of this or that, or they're very positive, or this or that, and then start looking at what they should have done, and then analyzing that information so their salespeople can go back and say, this is how you should have handled this. And we've already seen an uptick in people identifying issues, identifying what could have been leads, correcting them, and seeing actual quantified numbers in leads going up, and being entered and being won based on the analysis that they're taking. So
That's pretty amazing.
I actually want to build off of that a little bit. So something that we're doing is very much in line with that, and it's after we've ingested all the customer sentiment feedback and information, once we've got it all categorized, we're then running algorithms to understand which of these categories are the most important drivers to CSAT. Right? We know that food quality, every positive food quality is increasing CSAT by 0.65 or something like that, right? Or is it hospitality? Is it the customer service? What is really driving satisfaction and sentiment in our spaces?
Right.
That's great ideas.
Yeah, no, we're doing that with like net promoter scores as well, and those types of things. So it's pretty amazing. How do you guys feel that AI can enhance email and text message personalization? I can start with you, Chris. I mean, I know that you're
Sure
heavy working on this on a daily.
Yeah, pretty much.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of just touched on a little bit already. We use it to try to to generate these kind of micro targeted personalizations to individuals. We really want the person to feel known, and not just hey Susie, first name, do this and we're going to be here blank. We really want to understand who they are, what the address is, what the weather is that day, all of the information that we can have to make that so that this person feels like I understand this person. You know what I mean? And that all comes from all the data that you have to interact with. So, we use that in a way, like I said, to personally target things. What email should I send them? When should they be sent? What's the content that they enjoy more than others? And as you start collecting more things, did they click on that link? Did they fill out that form after that email? Okay, that adds some more information about what they enjoy, what's important to them. We tie into the phone call information that their customer had on top of all their services and everything else, and start really being able to generate content that is absolutely individual to them. Like, it is somebody, you're going to this person's house and understanding their problems or understanding the solution they need to give you. And ultimately that, that customer journey part is so important to retention and keeping that customer. That personalization experience is the more it goes, the more you're really going to see that as an expectation at some level.
Because of all of our tech talk, this is it really does drive back to the basics of customer experience. That's in alignment with, a brand, right? So that's cool. So I guess I'm going to redirect this back to Aaron again. How can AI be used to deliver truly personalized experiences in digital marketing?
Yeah, so this kind of hits what I was saying earlier. So targeting is one thing, right? Get the right message in front of the right people, and I think some of these platforms already do that. The other thing, and this is more like on like a macro perspective, just like seeing what's going on. So there are a lot of brands today. There are a lot of companies. There are a lot of ads. There's a lot of just content constantly hitting people, right? So I think the question becomes, how do you stand out in the sea of just stuff and noise? It's becoming harder, and now we can create AI generated videos and pictures and all these things that just add more to this noise. So I think kind of going back to what Chris just was talking about, right? Like, how do we understand these people as people, right? Because that's what they are, and we're selling to people, and it goes back to customer experience and these things, right? So like, at the core, that's what it is. And I think AI can help us do that, right? It can help us understand who these people are, what they may like, who they're connected to, all these things that, could be done, but just couldn't be done efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
That's 27, efficiently before. So I think that's what it is, right? Just making marketing to people not feel like marketing, right? Make it feel like a conversation. And even, with these brands, we're working in CPG and hospitality. People are buying from brands that have people behind them, right? So they people are just yearning for this personal connection. So even though AI is the opposite of personal connection, it can make it feel like there is that personal connection.
Yeah, I mean, we are still getting the information so we could create more personalized experiences.
Sure.
With humans.
And it's not just that, and I hate to come off like, there's the whole evil marketing advertising guy ingesting all the data and and knowing your every move kind of thing. But when we think about it, it's not thought about, how can we get this person to look at this so that we can sell something? I mean, obviously there's that aspect of it because that's the job. But really, when it comes to where we're working with our customers and their customers, it really is about how do we provide the best experience for that person, and it is about that person feeling good. It is about their experience being good, and that should in turn make their business run better. They get revenue based on that. So it really is truly about the person, their feelings, and what they want, not just trying to sell them something by the whole slot machine, bright lights, and where they're going to purchase something. Really giving them something of value that they want. And I think that's something to point out, because there's a lot of the, oh my God, they're watching me.
Yeah.
They're collecting all my data, and that's it. So a lot of it certainly can be used in the bad when it comes to AI in general, and there's a whole scope of discussion on what can be done, what will be done. But in our case, I still think it's down to the marketers and how they operate in the companies and how they use it to better their customers, not just for a sales vehicle.
Personalizing the brand, I think is extremely important as we go through this journey all together. And want to be back to sentiment. How can sentiment analysis insights be integrated into digital marketing strategies and customer experience? And Chris, you have like larger scale knowledge of this. How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about integrating it into digital marketing?
Yeah, like the strategies for the customer experience initiatives.
Yeah, so it's something that we're really only just starting to kind of scratch the surface and start to think about. As we've starting to realize how much information we actually do have and have been collecting, and what we can start doing. We're starting to experiment with what we can do with all of it. In terms of digital marketing, I certainly think from a sales, from a client retention, from a storytelling perspective, there's a lot to be done there, right? There's a lot of feel-good stories that happen in those in our operations where, they receive a feedback, we follow up, maybe it got a little bit better, got some more feedback, followed up again, and then eventually, sometimes we hear some really good stories that we turn around some customers.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly lots of opportunity there to kind of show, the hospitality side of it, right? And to Aaron's point, like it's a people business, right? We have to be very cognizant of not like get lost in all just the numbers and the data, right?
Yeah.
It's still a relationship business, and there is a human aspect of it that is still going to be very important. And I think data can help the storytelling of that, and how it can drive the connections that we have with our brands, with our clients, with our customers. But it's a tool, and it's how you leverage it.
Yep. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah. So it's an interesting sort of thought exercise, and Chris, I like what you were saying before about how you guys leverage call data and some of these things. And I think the interesting thing to think about, and we are not ready to build any of this stuff, so we might need to talk to you guys about how we build this. But the interesting thing to sort of like as a thought exercise is understanding that like everything is a data point, right? Like
Yes.
In a past life, I was actually on the tech and venture capital side of things. And, I would see companies that came up and they could tell how long you spent time in a certain chair, or how much time you spent in a room, and they would shut off the lights during a certain time, right? Like these are all also data points. So I think another question to think about is like, how do you think about those things as data points? And then, how do you bring those into the fold and clean it up to also feed into some of your existing models? Because the better you are at getting those data points, the better you are at predicting or analyzing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's some of the hardest part of some of these things is getting at the data itself. So we try to do very granular demographics for like some of our customer base. Like we're trying to match up addresses to direct demo information and lifestyle information, cars, anything that we can get to make that experience, better for them. But all of that data is starting to get pushed behind lock and key, and so either whether it's getting information now and starting to build your own LLMs, and I'm not sure if that's what you're doing with some of your stuff. You could see, I could see how you guys sitting there and labeling and categorizing, like that would be super beneficial. That you have the data, like that's amazing. So that's so big of a benefit for you because you have all this incoming data coming in. But for demographic information and for other things like that, there's a lot of third-party sources you got to go to, and so and do they match, and what's the percentage of matching, and so there's a lot of algorithmic stuff that goes along with that. But yeah.
And how do you guys are you implementing this into from an educational standpoint, from a process standpoint? I mean, I'm talking to agencies on a daily basis, and one of the biggest confusing topics is like how do we actually find the time? How do we create process to have us be one of the folks that are moving things forward? So I'm wondering, Aaron, how do you bring that in? You're 6 people, you said, I believe.
Yeah.
How are you bringing that into your like daily work habits?
I'm only laughing because I force fed it. I'm like, hey guys, we are going to learn this today. So let's all hop on it. We're going to buy the subscription. So we got on some of the bandwagon with some of the stuff pretty early. And I'm just like, hey, this is the future. Like, let's go. Right. But, that was just the beginning. And that was, I don't even know when we started using some of this stuff. But the rate of change is so fast, right? There's so many tools, so many things popping up every day, so many different use cases. And I mean, you guys have taught me a ton today. Just sitting here right now, I'm going to go back and talk to the team and say, hey, we should be doing this. But I think the education piece is the biggest factor for us because we're small and we're fast followers, like I was saying earlier. We need to just understand how others are using this and what is being built. Mm-hmm. And then, our job is still the same, to deliver the best results for our clients. So if we see a tool or a use case or whatever it is that can deliver that for our clients and we can use it, we have no choice but to implement it into our systems. Yeah. Because if we don't, we're going to fall behind and our clients are going to fall behind. So, I don't know. I would love to hear what you guys do,
Dan
but
was
it's
one of the first, as a technology person, I've been in on it since before. I mean, we've been doing natural language processing for years, and there's always been AI. What it really is these large language models and how they're processing it now. but Dan has taken the initiative to really use this from a business function. Everybody, you can get in on this, get your ChatGPT accounts, but also, we take all that client information. That was really one of those things why we started using some of these GPTs for clients. Dan, kind of had this idea of let's make sure every client has their own GPT. We're adding, data to it. We're adding, revenue information. We're adding customer information. We're adding every meeting that we've ever had with them, and being able to iterate from all of that information. So Dan has really pushed this company, and as Overit's always been future forward. But he's, been right there since the beginning. Yeah, trying. But we're all excited here. Everybody's, sees the value in this stuff.
And Chris, you're working on this every day, but like, how are you staying on top of because it's an onslaught?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's, Aaron touched on it. It's like the education piece is huge, right? And you asked me a question before we started. It was, do you see AI, reducing the amount of jobs that you would need for data? And I think it's the exact opposite. Because of how quickly it's the pace that it's moving and it's evolving, we need as many resources as we can get. And I think we're in a very fortunate spot that our leadership has very much been, hey, we want to be on the bleeding edge of this. So go out and find use cases, right? And let's see what we can do.
So that's an open book, basically. So you're given the freedom to go find these use cases.
Yeah, we're given some freedom to kind. There's budget constraints, as always. But no, to like kind of push. Let's push it a little bit, right? We've been doing sentiment analysis for a long time. How do we make it better, right? We do POS analysis. We understand what's selling, what's not. How do we take that to the next level, right? What can we do beyond what we're doing today?
Right. And it is overwhelming for a lot of people, it's almost fear. Like you were talking about loss of jobs or gain of jobs, right? And I agree with you. There's going to be, it'll level out. It'll be different, right?
It'll be different.
But there will be a gain of, different types of jobs with different types of accountability, with higher expectations, right? So, but it is definitely something that we see as like a lot of agencies, a lot of companies in general, just how do we even approach this? It's overwhelming. So it's interesting to hear how you guys are approaching that. So I'll move back to Aaron again. AI leveraging to improve ad targeting accuracy and relevance. We're seeing it here. We're delving more and more into that, but personalization and the targeting. And you said you were connecting through Meta for that. Is there any other instances or things that you're utilizing that for?
To be honest, I think because we do paid ads on social, right? So that's the only channel that we're really using targeting for. So I would say it's pretty much that. I would say beyond that, there's not much that we're doing.
Yeah, I see. So we're looking at basically analyzation of insights and analytics from your typical stuff, like could be just Google Analytics or different types of persona information we're collecting, purchase habits, those types of things. But being able to give us insights, predictive business intelligence, to then give to possibly a person to go in and fine tune and tweak those campaigns, right? Being able to go do such in-depth analysis on, because you might say, hey, we have more keywords, so we're ranking higher. But what does that really mean as far as like quality conversion, So starting to utilize it for those types of insights that then we can act upon, I think is really helpful usage for, advertising and targeting relevancy.
Yeah, I mean, and even like kind of what we're doing, even with the call analysis stuff, where while a lot of this stuff's customer service, a good majority of it is leads, and what is it? It's not just, did they win or lose this lead and why did they do this? But what is the quality of that lead? Where did that lead come from? What is the demographic of that particular lead that they came from, and having that all analysis. Okay, so this particular zip code, generates the least quality lead. So we're going to pull money away from targeting that zip code to the one that generates this quality leads, and being able to do that analysis on the fly based on incoming information as it happens.
there's one thing that's pretty interesting. I actually attended a webinar 2 days ago, and we talked about landing pages, and we're taking in the information and we're changing it on our own. But you have solutions out there now that exist that dynamically change landing pages for you and images on the fly, right? That is game changing, right?
Yep.
So if I can create one and it's targeting based upon what it's learning, that cuts out a lot of what we have to do, right? So that's an extreme example, and I don't think that's perfect yet because there's so much that goes into that, and I think the human creativity aspect still matters in some of that creation process, and it's huge, with what you do, understanding the data and using it. But yeah, that's something that's interesting that we've started using, but I think there's a long way in AI days is like 3 days, right? But there's a long way to go with that being better than us targeting.
Right. Well, if we're targeting and sending out an ad that's personalized based on the personas that we know, that is custom AI driven, that drives them to a landing page that is then changed or altered on the fly due to the persona, demographic, geographic of the individual. That's only creating a more personalized experience. So, it's going to be fun, exciting stuff. So from like a back to customer experience, how can marketers and customer experience professionals upskill and prepare for the future? And Chris Liu, I'm going to start with you because that's you're focused on that quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it's really just keeping an open mind. And I think there's just so much opportunity and we're only scratching the surface, right? And there's so much data that's being collected. It's literally every time you touch your phones, it's being tracked somewhere, right? And so the extent that we can use this information, we're still figuring that out. And so it's identifying, what is a problem that I want to solve, and then is there data to solve it? And the answer is almost always yes.
Yep.
Right. And so it's keeping an open mind. How do we leverage AI to, again, what I said earlier, just improve productivity so that we can focus on the things that really drive and move the business.
Awesome. Thank you. What advice would you folks give to agencies looking to build out their AI capabilities and expertise?
Yeah, I want to take this one because Asia and I have been on probably 10 demo calls every single week with these new platforms. So I think that's like a hack, right? That we sort of use. And, we see a new tool, we talk to the team, right? We get a demo, they show us how they interpret and how they use this for themselves, right? Or build something for us. And now we understand what's out there. So I think just having conversations and talking to smart guys like you helps, me a lot, for example. So I think being in it, playing around, having a field day, and also talking to people and bouncing ideas around it is really important, right? But, a free way to do it is sign up to a lot of demos with these platforms and have them tell you how they use it. Yeah.
Chris, anything to add? Or
yeah, I mean,
I'm going to call you Powers.
Yeah, exactly. Apologies. No, you go.
Okay.
You go.
Yeah. Again, no. Building connections, talking to people. A big part of my understanding with AI, it's not me doing the work, right? It's me leveraging the resources that we have available to us. It's me going out, doing things like this and meeting other folks and seeing what understanding the problems that our clients are facing, understanding the problems that our operators are facing. And then from there, understand, trying to figure out like, how do we maximize what we have today? And if we don't have it today, how do we build it out for tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of tried and true things out there that agencies can start with, creative ideation, using it for, better functionality within, their processes, be able to, speed up in efficiency. These are things that you can start with tomorrow with your basic ChatGPT account. You know what I mean? You can create, pro account, sorry. So you can go in there and, and start, instantly with that process. I mean, from the one person digital marketer who, you know, just says, all right, here's my customer, here's their target demographic, you know, here's the product that they're selling. Give me 20 ideas of, you know, for creative copy for an SMS text. You know what I mean? Just that alone right there is probably 10 more ideas than you would have sat there and did on your own. And maybe you don't use any of those ideas, but maybe you use pieces of those as is. But it's just that, you know, it's like having that brainstorming session with a group of people, except it's you and ChatGPT. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think starting right there is your best bet for any agency, you know.
Yeah.
And so just that one more thing. And one thing that we've done that's been incredibly helpful for us to kind of prioritize and understand what we need to be working on is we have a very simple matrix. It's ease of execution going across, and then up and down is value, right? How do we find the low hanging fruit that are high value, easily to implement, and then how do we build towards the high value, more difficult to implement?
Yeah,
right?
that's
like
excellent.
that.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
And if you do
copy
have
that
any,
now.
if you do have any,
We're gonna steal that now.
samples of that stuff, we should send that out to some of the folks, because I think, you know, that simplistic way of looking at that, you know, it's almost like a minimal SWOT, basically. Exactly. Finding your MVP for something that's high value is really, really smart. That's excellent. And I think just going back to kind of what everybody was saying is, you know, be inquisitive, be open-minded, and, you know, looking at how you're going to be able to provide your customers or your clients the most value and the best experience for what they're utilizing you for. So I think that's great. Another question was how agencies and clients can work together to ensure responsible and ethical use. I don't know if, do any of you have anything to speak to that on the ethics or even legalities on the customer experience of use of AI?
Something that we're thinking a lot about, because, you know, data privacy is certainly a big concern, because anything you feed into these models it lives there in perpetuity.
Yep.
You know, one way that we're addressing that is we're building our own models, so that we're keeping everything in house. But certainly, you know, we see a lot of, you know, regulations coming down the pipe for this, and this is going to be an increasing challenge.
Right. Better safe than sorry. We
Right.
know the regulations are going to be changing. We know they're going to get more, you know, in depth as far as the usage and what can and cannot be used. And I think mostly important is, you know, how are we protecting, you know, data, right?
Yeah.
That this is, because like you said, it is ingesting, it's living there.
Right. I mean, and you even went out of the way to buy the Teams version of GPT. These are things that those particular GPTs are in a sandbox. You know, so the data that we're putting into them does not go back into the model. There's no, you know, this is, you know, so we, you know, any of the client particular information stays in a sandbox, and we think about that.
And I know we're closing in on time, I think, right, Katie, as far as for just the regular stuff. But so going down the line here, what do you think is the most exciting or disruptive AI technologies on the horizon for marketing and customer experience?
Am I going first?
Sure.
I might need a second for this one. I got to think about what I'm most excited about. So yeah, if you can come back to me, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Chris Lou, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly just excited for all the possibilities, because I'm still very much in the I don't know what it is I don't know yet phase, and I think that's where a lot of us are going to be for the next, you know, few years. And it's just really exciting to be able to, you know, to see what's coming down the pipe. And I think being a fast follower is going to be incredibly important part of that. And, you know, as much as we all want to say we're innovating, but it's like a lot of these problems are solved for. Let's understand. Let's continue to work off of, you know, what's being done already.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for the video. You know, I know as you're like the Sora, like some of the stuff is great. You know, I'm excited for that to be. I'm excited for it to be for everything to be a bit more refined. You know, the hallucinations, you know, and you know, really truly being able to trust what is generated on the fly without any interaction or any verification process down the road. It's going to be there, when it will be to the point where it is going to be like you're talking to a human. They will have a complete understanding. If I told you, don't be like this to this customer, do this, you're going to speak well because you can speak well, and you're going to understand that. And when we get to that point, and it's not that far, we're probably 18 months, they're saying 4 years for general intelligence, but the reality of it is it's probably a lot closer than that. And before we even get to that point, though, the accuracy and trustworthiness of these models will be 20-fold what they are now in the next 2 years, or whatever that is. So I'm excited for it to be a true other person in the room, that I can be trusted.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I think it's really exciting to now we're kind of all working within platforms, like individual platforms. And I think now that, we're starting to connect these different platforms together to create unique situations or customized almost products, that help people enhance their businesses and help enhance, client experiences. I think that's super exciting. And I think, ideation is just going to get better and better, where we're able to quickly ideate with data-backed solutions that give us as creatives and humans more just fire to work with. So it's not a replacement. It's just more creativity, I think, is going to come from this. So that, I think that's very exciting. So
I got mine, Dan. You can come back to me.
Okay, I'm looping it back to you.
All right, cool.
He's got it.
Yeah. Thank you. So I wouldn't say it's a specific technology, but I am excited about the increased ability for smaller companies and brands to compete with the big guys, right? So I see AI leveling the playing field, right? So, I think someone can create a brand, for example, have AI create the logo, create the pitch deck that they go out and raise money for. Sorry, yeah. And create a website and all these things, and compete with some of these bigger companies, right? Which I think is good, because before you needed a ton of money, a huge team to do this. I think that's easier now than it ever was. So I think the increased competition is, I think, it'd be good for the market as a whole. And then, for us, it allows to help out, smaller brands that should be propped up because of products or because, they're solving a real issue. Yeah.
Thank you. Katie, was there any questions today? Okay, great. Well, I do. Did you have a question?
Well, my question was about when you were talking about, when you were saying Gen Z or millennials or 25-year-olds, they really like this personalization, and the way that you were able to feed that into the chatbots was taking the demographic information and creating these conversations that were uber personalized. But you said on the flip side that older generations, older people didn't necessarily like that, but were you utilizing it the same way, and they still were like, this is too uncomfortable?
No. We would switch the message. We would switch how the messaging was based on the demographic itself. Okay. So a little more straightforward for the, for the older crowd, a little more, so that's it, so between this age and this age, that prompt is way different than between this age and this age.
Okay, that's what I was thinking as well, because when it got me thinking, when you were utilizing a lot of demographics and then lifestyle behaviors, I was wondering how even we could utilize that in some of our messaging across social, across advertising. And I thought that was really interesting. If you just took what you knew about these people on face value, and then how you can feed that into an AI and then develop messaging so they can feel like I'm being spoken to. But it's interesting to see the differences. As we know that these generations speak completely different to each other.
Yep.
And I'm sure if you got super personalized with an older person talking through a chat, they would be a bit creepy.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's gonna, yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, there's an expectation with, I think, with a younger demographic that that's okay. You know what I mean? And the older demographic is still very, you know, the government's watching me, and you know, and whatever that, you know, whatever that is. But I mean, it's really these are, we're creating personas, but they're personas for the individual itself, you know, and maybe it's, you know, it's a little bit probably broader than that. You know, we do have some personalized information, but we're going to see a lot of the same personas. They drive a luxury car, they make this much money, and these are all kind of, you know, between this and this, you know, so their home is worth this and this. They drive a Mercedes, they make between this and this. They have this, their credit scores between this and this. There's probably, you know, out of 10,000 people on the data, there's probably, you know, 1,000 people, let's say, that match that persona, you know, and then we throw in the individual things like what was the last service that they had? What was, you know, so then it gets a little bit more individual, but, you know, in general, you know, from that demographic information, you can come up with a pretty tight persona for the individual you're talking to.
Yeah, and we're seeing this across the board in various industries, you know, healthcare, finance, you know, obviously hospitality, so on and so forth. And I think that at the end of the day, we're all just kind of working towards creating a better living environment and experience for all humans to as they go through life. And we're all losing attention span minute by minute. So it's becoming harder. And I think that we all just want to continue to look at the positive of what AI is bringing to the table, and being able to see companies, 5, 6, 7 person companies, create things that they wouldn't be able to do. And that's where you're going to generate new ideas, new creativity, and truly inspirational new brands and companies. So I think it's very exciting. Yep. And I just wanted to thank everybody for coming today and joining us on this panel as we work through this series, AI for Marketers series. And I'm sure we will be sending out a follow-up email, which will include contact information for you guys, you know, if anybody has any questions. And thank you so much, both of you and Chris. Thank you for joining us today. And we hope you guys got something good out of today's AI for Marketers series session. So thank you.
Thanks.